So welcome to our program, devoting to changing the conversation about our generation, millennials. I'm Lamora Lorenz from Tennessee Tech University.
And I'm Alec Icavelli from Western Connecticut State University.
We're the co-hosts, along with 4 other students from around the country who are also a part of a nationwide movement known as the National Millennial Community. So panelists, please introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Michael Adams from the University of Washington in Seattle.
Justin Limasa from the University of Hawaii at West Oahu.
I'm Kayla from Cal State Northridge.
I'm Audrey Moore from DePaul University in Chicago.
So today we are having a conversation to provide advice for President Donald Trump.
We kind of wanted to look at this as a resource for Donald Trump as he starts his new administration. We want him to feel that he has, a genuine opinion or a genuine feeling that we really do respect him and we want him, to succeed in his administration. So with that, I'd like to open it up to the first question. How can he authentically appeal to our millennial generation?
So, I'd like to start. We know that Donald Trump has biases against the traditional media. He's talked a lot about fake news, and so he's been using Twitter as his main platform to communicate. The problem with Twitter is it's only 140 characters, so that there's a lot of room for misinterpretation. I think that for millennials in our generation, we love transparency, and we really haven't had an opportunity to get to know Donald Trump. What I think, in my opinion, he should do is have a video crew, have a couple of millennials interview him, and for us to get to know him, to humanize him, so then potentially we could connect. He can even have some behind the scenes we can see into his life. Put those videos on social media, maybe on YouTube or some other platforms, and then he can connect with us so he can really understand who Donald Trump is.
I think that's an excellent point. I think something else he could also do would probably be to venture out more into Facebook. That's my advice to him. I would do more Facebook, because with Facebook, you can write as much as you want. We see those really long posts all the time, and millennials, there's this idea that we don't really use Facebook, but I love Facebook. I'm on Candy Crush. I'm talking to my grandparents. I love Facebook. And I would absolutely look more into reading Donald Trump's posts on Facebook, because I think you can really get the context he's trying to put them in. Because like you said, 140 characters, that's so short. You can't get what you're trying to put out there. So,
yeah, if I may, I'd like to echo my colleagues here. I think that humanizing Donald Trump's voice behind what he's trying to say is really key. I think a lot of the tension that was arisen during this election season is really due in part to the fact that there's too many assumptions to be made about what's being written in 140 characters.
Absolutely.
He might mean one thing, but it could be taken a multitude of different ways from different demographics and representations around the country. So I couldn't agree more with what my colleagues have been saying.
And I agree. I feel like the YouTube platform, if you were to do like a 2-minute segment, maybe just once a week, kind of decreasing the chance for a middleman to kind of come through and kind of sway the message, or even that's what we see a lot of times on Facebook, is when they're taking a couple of little segments from clips here and there and then kind of putting those together, and it totally can sway the message. I feel like if you can just kind of reduce the bias that sometimes creates, I feel like that would be an excellent idea.
I think if you look at it too, millennials aren't going to be the only ones who read these Facebook posts or watch those video blogs. I think it's going to appeal to everybody within the nation, and I think everyone could put aside a couple minutes a day to read. I mean, he's our president of the United States now, and I think we all just need to take the time to listen and also read what he has to say and do our best to humanize him and respect and do everything like that. I think great advice for Trump would to be more on that social media platform.
My advice to him would be that millennials really value authenticity and transparency.
Absolutely.
So if he could pursue an agenda transparently that is going to benefit the American people as a whole, not just his constituency, but everybody, then he could garner the respect, and he can also garner the support of millennials.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. So I think another underlying theme that's really been a topic of conversation throughout the election season and throughout his presidency in the first week is the theme of unification. I really think that unifying this country, no matter who the president is really, really important, because we want everyone's voices to be heard. So that being said, what can President Trump and his new administration do to really ensure the cohesion of our country after this election season?
I think that is an excellent thing to maybe give him advice on, because I think that's something that's always been struggled with within the higher government and just those higher powers and levels. And I think, in my opinion, the best way to give advice Trump to do that is to get out there, meet with these people, connect with them, go to a local school that is poverty-stricken or isn't the same as other upper public schools. Do your best to go out there and really talk to these people, because if you talk to them, you'll hear. And I understand that he's not going to be able to go to every school that does this. And so I think the best advice I could give him too is to have representatives that can represent these people. And that's not saying pick people who are already in politics, who are already in the government. Pick people who can report to him, whether it's via email or vlog video, something like that. Like, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what we'd like to see.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Kayla?
That was a great point. Definitely. Building those relationships with communities is really important, and finding the right people to be those ambassadors I completely agree. There's a lot of hurt communities out there that from his certain comments that I feel like he might need to rebuild, say an apology, whatever it be. I don't know. Different communities want different things, so I think start from there and establish those relationships. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, different communities want different things. Different communities, have felt certain ways, or have been almost taken out of context what he's been saying. I think that if they felt that their president really cared about what their ideals are, or what appeals to their culture, I think they would feel way more included in this nation, and ultimately want to prosper and move forward politically. I think that he can't succeed just appealing to his agenda. Mm-hmm. He needs support from the left, needs support from the right, needs support from the independents to really move forward politically. And I think that's kind of a nonpartisan agreement for any president.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be excellent advice for him, is to really work on unifying us, not just us as millennials, but us as a nation. And I think that unification can really be reached for him, and I think we're all just giving the same theme of advice, and that's just to respectfully listen and have that platform there and reaching out. I think that would really help him out and be great advice for him to hear.
So that being said, what are some actionable items that Donald Trump can take to be seen as more empathetic towards these diverse groups that we've been discussing?
Yeah. I definitely feel like during this whole election time period, there has been such a divide in the nation. I feel like we've almost lost the ability to agree to disagree.
Yes.
I feel like what President Trump can do to kind of bring that back is just have more empathy for
embracing diversity.
Yes, embracing the diversity, just having more empathy for all the different stories, and just kind of maybe even go out and experience it himself. Just kind of experience all these different stories so that he can kind of get that back from us. Kind of receive the empathy for his story as well. I just feel like that would kind of bridge the communication and understanding gap that we have.
Of course. Michael, did you have a point you want to add?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, that to be able to be empathetic, you got to go meet your country that you're representing. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is our public servant. And for him to be a true public servant, he has to represent the entire country, not just his constituency. So I think that one thing that would be great is this constituency needs to be made up to reflect the diversity of our country. Our country is so amazing because of its diversity. We have every ethnicity you can think of. We have every gender affiliation you can think of. We were based on a freedom of religion where Jews and Muslims and Christians can all worship in the respectful way. That being said, Donald Trump needs to go out and meet these people. And like it was said earlier, if he doesn't have the time to meet these people, we really need to give these people a voice. And if they don't have a voice, we need to give it to them. And I don't feel right now that they have a voice. And so I think that he needs to go out and get people from his respective communities, have them talk with them. So then he can truly be a public servant and represent the entire America.
I really think there's something to be said about the importance of diversity. I think understanding and realizing that diversity is really needed to prosper in this country is vital to success.
Absolutely.
I think a parallel can be seen in the national millennial community. We are a complete diverse group of people that have never met before, And we came together just a year ago and really brought about some positive change and made great strides in what we've done. You know, we have representatives, you know, socioeconomic status, age, gender, religion, where you live in the country, and that's really, really important because, Michael, actually, you had a great metaphor to describe this.
It's like a salad, right? If we all just ate a salad that was lettuce, that'd be a very boring salad.
Really bland.
Yeah, very bland. So I think that you have to have source ingredients from all over the country. Make sure they're fresh and they have great ideas. You know, if it's people we're talking about, make sure they have great ideas that represent those communities. Then we can build a salad that's really great and delicious.
You need your tomatoes. You need your
Yeah, you
need
do.
your balsamic
Yeah.
vinaigrette.
Okay, you're
You need your
making me
feta
hungry now.
cheese.
Yeah, I know. I really want to like go grab some salad right now.
And Alec, I feel like you brought up a great point about all of us just kind of coming together and just kind of bringing up our opinions. I feel like the National Millennial Community is a great resource for that. Just kind of representing even our generation. Just kind of being that bridge to Donald Trump. I feel like we can definitely voice our opinions for that.
Right. I embrace opposing views. I really want somebody to challenge what I'm thinking, because that's going to encourage me to think broader and, you know, more intelligently going forward. If I don't realize that somebody thinks this way and I have this, I know I'm speaking very broadly, but I'm going to prosper myself. You know, I'm going to learn and grow, and that's what I constantly strive to do. And I think this can be, you know, taken into a, you know, shot up into a big scale on the nation, of course.
And that could lead into a great piece of advice for Trump is to listen to us. Read our social media platforms. I mean, there's so many groups and communities aside from just us who are voicing their opinions on blog posts and Facebook pages. So a great piece of advice for him would be to read those, digest them, listen to them, analyze them, and bring that into what he's doing. Absolutely.
Like our community, the National Millennial Community, we built this community to have all these different makeups of our country to really change the conversation. That being said, I think that when we come together, you start to learn about people that are different than you. I'm from Seattle, Washington. We have traditionally liberal views. I've had conversations with Republicans that have gun lockers, and I got more understanding of them. I think that the more you understand someone, then you understand their needs, and you're more empathetic towards them. I think one of the big divides in our country is between the cities and rural America, and I think that Donald Trump really needs to bridge that gap. And to bridge that gap, you got to bring people together.
I agree.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point.
Kayla, do you have anything you want to add,
No,
Justin?
just to second that. Yeah, I mean, we are a diverse nation. There's many things that divide us. We need to learn how to embrace the diversity, and if that means being a little uncomfortable, you know, we have to make that big step. These conversations don't happen because they are uncomfortable. And so just finding the right platform, being respectful, and just kind of finding the right people to like be ambassadors is, you know, what I feel.
To play off of that respect and empathy type of thing, President Trump is in a really unique position right now because the nation is really divided. But I think that if he was to take the first step and extend an olive branch to some of the people that he might have offended, he has a chance to mend a lot of those wounds from this past election, and especially since nobody expects him to apologize, and that's typically not what he does. But if he was to do that, it would show that he wants to be everybody's president, not just his constituents, but he wants to be the president of the millennials. He wants to be the president of everybody.
I think
Well
that all
said.
it goes full
Well said.
circle, absolutely, with all the advice we're giving him, because he can do that by reaching out on social media, or he could sit down and do a very specific news video. He could go on a newscast and he could talk. He could do a private interview. There's so many ways he could go about it. So I think it all is just coming full circle with the advice we can offer him.
So that being said, I think that's a great way to conclude our conversation. I really wish we could extend this further, and I mean, I'm sure we could speak all afternoon on this topic. I'm sure everybody in the nation could speak all afternoon about this topic. That being said, Lamore and I would like to thank our colleagues from around this country for joining us today. We also want to thank all of you in the audience for listening in on our conversation. If you would like to help us change the conversation about millennials in America, please visit our website at nationalmillennialcommunity.com. We would love to hear your thoughts.